can't wait for this weekend, by the way, in college football. It is a prove-it weekend. We're finally going to see some games and some teams, more importantly, tested like they have not been tested before. But first, what I want to get into is my top 10. We're going to talk with Lance Leipold, the head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks. I've been raving about him on my podcast all week long, and so we're going to get with Coach. Then we'll get to your questions out there, and we will ask some questions from you, the fan, as we finish things up. But first, let's get into the top 10 as I see them right now. At the top, folks, this is very easy. The number one team is an easy vote. It's Georgia. If I had a vote in the AP, which I don't anymore, thankfully, it would be Georgia. Now, Georgia, for me, is getting into that territory where it's either Georgia or the field in college football. And if you forced me to bet and lay down some money, I think I would have to take Georgia right now. That's how good they're playing. Now, should we have expected this? Yes, of course. They're really talented. They're one of the most talented teams in the country. They're the defending national champion. But there's something else. This isn't as talented as a defense in particular as they had last year. Remember all those draft picks. And maybe not even as talented of a team, but they're playing almost better. Why is that? It's about confidence. Folks, when they beat Alabama, again, it wasn't about the national championship per se. It was about beating Alabama. They had not beaten Alabama since 2007. They were 0-7 since that game was an overtime win, 26-23 back in 2007. Now they beat Alabama, and they put to bed those 7 straight losses in which Georgia was a top 10 team in every one of those losses. And all of a sudden, now they have this catapult of confidence because they beat the one program that they needed to beat. Very similar to a couple of years ago when Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers went in and beat Bama in Tuscaloosa. And then after that point, they were unstoppable, and you saw them play with a level of confidence that we had not seen prior to that. That's the way I'm viewing Georgia right now. So if it's Georgia or the field for me, I'm taking Georgia. Okay, as we move on, I'm going to go with Ohio State at number 2. Ohio State, obviously good on offense. They've got a prove-it game against Wisconsin this week. Alabama at 3. Alabama, still some things to iron out, but you get the sense that they will iron those things out after that close win against Texas a couple of weeks ago. Michigan, I've got at number 4. Michigan's a really good team, folks, and they are burying their opponents, which they should. Their 3 non-conference opponents have been a combined 0-9 so far this season. That is just horrendous. It does show some maturity, though, and it shows me that this team understands how to handle their business. Because what should a great team do against a preseason schedule like they've had? They should go out there and beat them by 50 points, which is exactly what they've done. Average margin of victory, 50 points. They should be scoring as much as they have in a generation, which they are. Haven't done this since the early 1900s. This team is a really good team, but I can't wait to see them this week against Maryland. Big Noon Saturday. Gus, Jenny, and I will be there, and they're going to get tested for the first time in a big way, in particular by that wide receiver core from the Maryland Terps. All right, 5, Oklahoma. Just saw them last week, and that team, don't sleep on Oklahoma. This could be a version that could be even better than what we've seen prior. I loved what I saw from Dylan Gabriel. This run that was a 70-yard run early in this game was terrific. He's got no panic in his game. He's very smooth, and he operates that Jeff Lebby system with complete control. He's got history in it. He played for Lebby dating all the way back to UCF. Now they're back together at OU. They were running the ball well with a really physical, tough offensive line, and their defense played as well or better than I've seen them play in, a decade. Now, granted, it was against Nebraska, so they also have a prove-it game. They've got K-State this week. As we move on here, 6, I've got Clemson, 7, USC. Both of those teams going to be tested this week at Wake for Clemson, at Oregon State for USC. That Oregon State team was 6-0 at home last year, including wins over Washington and Utah. So USC's got a tight one this week. Oklahoma State is going to be number 8 for me. And as we round it, I've got Penn State and Texas. Really quickly on Penn State, folks. Penn State is sneaky this year because they fixed their biggest issue from what hurt them a year ago. This is a team that I thought was going to be really good offensively last year under their new coordinator, Mike Yurcich, but they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't figure out their offensive line, and that put a ton of pressure on Sean Clifford, their quarterback. That's not a position that he was going to be successful in. Now they have this guy, Nick Singleton. This dude is legit. He was the number one running back recruit in the country. They get him there at State College, and now what has he done? He's gone out there, and they don't give him the rock probably enough. But what has he done? Led the country in yards per attempt at 11. I mean, they're fixing their run game, and if they can play that style of football, watch out for Penn State. I think James Franklin's got something that quietly could be undefeated against Michigan later this month. They've got their toughest test, Ohio State, at home. That's another game that Gus Jenny and I will likely be at. So Penn State quietly making the Big Ten East the best division in football. Why is that? Because I've got 3 of those teams from that same division in my top 10. That's what the running game is doing for Penn State. They are that good. It protects their defense. It protects their quarterback.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.